Hi, welcome to Math with Mrs. K. Today we're going to talk about writing and rearranging linear equations. So let's talk about slope-intercept form. We have y equals mx plus b, where m is going to represent the slope or the change in y over change in x, and b is going to be our y-intercept. Now your y-intercept is when x is 0. That's kind of like where you begin, where x is 0. So we're going to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line and then state the slope and y-intercept of each function. So for this first one, we're trying to get y by itself, so we're going to take away 3x on both sides, and we are left with negative 2y is equal to negative 3x minus 16. We'll divide everything by negative 2 to isolate the y, and we are left with y is equal to positive 3 over 2x plus 8. So now from slope-intercept form, we can go ahead and extract our slope, which is 3 over 2, and our y-intercept, which is 8. So let's go to number 2. We're in standard form, so we got to rearrange this. We're going to start by isolating y, and we're going to subtract 4x from both sides. We are left with 8y is equal to negative 4x plus 20. Always put your x variable first, just because the way that's how it is in slope-intercept form. So once we divide by 8, we're going to be left with y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus, and I simplified 20 over 8 to 10 over 4, and then I realized, I can simplify this further. So I divided the numerator and denominator by 2, and I'm left with y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 5 over 2. Now the coefficient on my x is my slope, negative 1/2, and my y-intercept is going to be 5 over 2. All right, with number 3, we are again trying to isolate y, so let's go ahead and subtract that x term over. We are left with negative 7y is equal to negative 14x plus 21. We're going to divide everything by negative 7 to get rid of the negative 7, and we're left with y is equal to positive 2x minus 3. From here, we know that our slope is 2, and our y-intercept is negative 3. All right, number 4, again, we're trying to get y by itself, so we got to get rid of that x term. It's a positive 4x, so let's subtract it to both sides of our equation. On the left, we're left with negative 2y is equal to negative 4x minus 5. We're going to put that x term in front. We are dividing by negative 2 because right now the negative 2 is being multiplied to the y. Got to undo it with division. And we are left with y equals 2x plus positive 5 over 2. Again, let's extract our slope, positive 2, and our y-intercept, 5 over 2. Number 5, again, we're trying to get y by itself, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that positive x by subtracting. Now we're left with just y is equal to negative x plus 3. Please note that in front of that x, there's really an invisible 1. So your slope is going to be negative 1, and your y-intercept is 3. On this last one, we are going to again get y by itself, so we got to start with getting rid of the 2x. We're going to subtract on both sides. We are left with negative y is equal to negative 2x plus 7. And to get rid of that negative in front of the y, of course, there's an invisible 1. So we're going to go ahead and divide everything by negative 1, which really just flips the signs. So y is equal to 2x minus 7. Our slope is 2, and the y-intercept is negative 7. Okay, part 2, we have some tables. We're going to complete the following. Now, when it refers to rate, that is another way to say slope. And we're going to call the starting value our y-intercept because that's where x is 0, which generally, when we talk about application problems, is going to be our starting value. Okay, so when it's asking for rate, that's your slope. Starting value is your y-intercept, again, where x is 0. So recall your rate is going to be the change in the y values over the change in the x values. So let's go ahead and find those. From negative 4 to negative 2, we go up 2. And from negative 2 to 0, again, we go up 2. Your x's are going to go up by 1 and up by 1. So let's make fractions for each of those changes. So we have 2 over 1 and 2 over 1. Both of those are going to simplify to 2, which tells us we have a consistent slope and that our rate is 2. Your starting value, remember, that's your y-intercept where x is 0. So it's going to be negative 4. And we can go ahead and plug that into our slope-intercept form. So y is equal to 2x minus 4. All right, for this next one, again, we're going to start by finding the change in y over change in x for each of those point changes. So your change in y is -1 for both of them, and your change is x is plus 3 for both changes as well. So your two rates of change will be negative 1/3, negative 1/3, and of course that's consistent because this is linear. If it were not consistent, it would be nonlinear. Your starting value will be 5. That's your y-intercept where x is 0. And your final equation is y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus 5. This bottom left one, you're going to start with the equation and you're going to find the rates, the starting value, and fill in the table. So your rate is negative 4/1. That's the coefficient on your x. And your y-intercept is 17. So let's go ahead and fill in 17. Your y-intercept is where x is 0. Your change in y is going to be negative 4 only if your change in x is 1. So both of our change in x's we can tell are plus 1. So we're going to have plus 1, plus 1, which means both of our change in y's are going to follow suit and be negative 4 because that is our consistent ratio. So the table is going to go 17 minus 4 is 13, minus 4 is 9. All right, the last one. Your rate, the coefficient on your x, is going to be 3. The starting value is 80. So let's fill that in. Your change in y is plus 3 whenever your x goes up by 1. So your x's are going up by 1 both times, which means that your y's are going to go up by 3. Please remember that is an 80 right there because that's your starting value, or it's your y-intercept where x is 0. All right, this next one, we're going to identify if the table is linear. If it is, we're going to write the equation. Linear functions have to have some kind of consistent slope. So there has to be some kind of ratio with how our y's are changing and how our x's are changing. For this first one, your y's are going up by 6. Your x's are going up by 2. The next point change, you're going to go up by 6 on the y and up by 2 on the x. But then we see a little bit of a change. On your y's, you're going to go up by 3, but your x's, you only go up by 1. But let's start by making our change in y over change in x fractions. So we have 6/2, 6/2, and 3/1. Now notice all of these are going to simplify. They're ratios. They're all going to simplify to 3, which means we do have a consistent ratio. So yes, it's linear. Your equation y equals mx plus b will be y equals 3x plus your y-intercept, which is 4, where x is 0. On this next one, we're going to do the same thing. So your change in y is plus 2, and then we have a plus 4, and then we have a plus 8. Let's look at those x's. We have a plus 1, and a plus 1, and a plus 1. So let's make our ratios. We have a 2/1, a 4/1, and an 8/1. None of those are going to simplify to the same thing, so no, this is not linear. We're going to move on to our last one. Your y's are going up by 5 on that first one, up by 5, and up by 5. So if your x's are consistent, we will have ourselves a linear equation. All right, we go plus 1, and plus 1. So all of your ratios are going to be 5/1, which is going to simplify to 5. So yes, it's linear. It's going to be y equals 5x plus your y-intercept, which in this case would be 5, where x is 0. So your final answer is going to be y equals 5x plus 5. Practice number 4, we're going to write the equation for the following linear functions in y equals mx plus b form. So this first one is a graph. So we're going to go ahead and find slope from the graph. We're going to find the change in y over change in x, also known as your rise over run. And right away we can tell that this is a positive slope. So let's set up our fraction bar and we're just going to leave it positive. We're going to choose 2 nice points. We're going to draw our triangle so we can easily find our rise over run. So the change in y of the rise goes from 4 to 8, which is going to be 4. The change in x or the run is going to be from 0 to 2, which is 2. So your slope is going to be 4/2, which is going to simplify to just positive 2. Your y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis, and in this case it's going to be 4, right there. So your final equation is going to be y equals 2x plus 4. All right, let's do the same thing on the next one. So your slope is going to be the change in y over change in x, or your rise over run. And in this case, we know it's negative, so I'm going to put a negative sign and then set up my fraction. Again, I'm going to find two nice points. So right here looks good. This is where they just hit the grid lines really nice and evenly. Draw my triangle. I'm going to find the rise or my change in y. So in this case, it goes from 1 to 4. And I'm referencing that line I drew. The run is going to go from 4 to 8, so that's positive 4. So your fraction will be negative 3 over 4. Your b is where your line hits the y-axis, your y-intercept, and that is going to be at 7. So your final equation is y equals negative 3 over 4, x plus 7. All right, the next one, in the linear function, h of 0 is 30 and h of 1 is 25. So it's typically written h of x, which we know is a fancy way to say y. So what they really gave us here was a coordinate pair. X is 0, y is 30. They also gave us 1, 25. So using this, we can go ahead and find the slope. And ooh, look at that, x is 0. So we have a y-intercept. Woohoo! So now we know our b is going to be 30. So your slope is going to be change in y over change in x. I'm going to choose a starting point and an ending point. So my starting point will be 0, 30. My ending point will be 125. This doesn't matter. It just keeps our order straight. So our y's are going to start at 30 and end at 25. So let's find that change. So 30 minus 25 is going to give us positive 5. Do the same thing with our x's. Your x's are going to start at 0 and end at 1. So we're going to have 0 minus 1, which will give us negative 1. So your final slope is going to be 5 over negative 1, which will give us negative 5. So your final equation in y equals mx plus b form will be y equals negative 5x plus 30. All right, this next one, they're going to give us the linear function g. So again, they give us two coordinate pairs. They give us 0, 5, and they give us 2, 30. And again, woohoo! We have a y-intercept. X is 0, so we know that 5 is going to be our b value or the y-intercept. Let's go ahead and do the same thing. Let's choose a starting point and ending point so that we can go ahead and find our change in y over change in x. I again just chose 0, 5 as my first point, just because it's the first one written. And the other one will be my second point. So our y's are going to start at 5, and they're going to end at 30. So we're going to have 5 minus 30. Our x's will start at 0 and end at 2. So change in x will be 0 minus 2. And we're going to end up getting negative 25 over negative 2. Negative over a negative will just turn into positive 25 over 2. So our final equation in y equals mx plus b form is going to be y equals 25 over 2 x plus our y-intercept, which is 5. All right, this next one again, they gave us two coordinate pairs for the function f. You know that f of x is equal to y, so our x is 1, y is 32. And our other point is going to be 2, 34. Now notice this time they didn't give us a y-intercept, so just to change it up, I'm going to do this in table form. Make my x and my y column, just for fun. I'm going to leave a space for my y-intercept where x is 0, because maybe I can work backwards and find a pattern. So that would be our y-intercept. So if we can figure out that missing value, we have our b value. So we know when x is 1, y is going to be 32. And when x is 2, y is 34. And whoop, we have a pattern. So our y-intercept is going to be 30 because it's going up by 2s as our x's are going up by 1. Which is also going to be our slope. We know our y's are going up again by 2. As our x's are going up by 1. which means that our slope is just going to be 2 over 1, which will simplify to 2. So our final equation in y equals mx plus b form is going to be y equals 2x plus 30. And the last one again, function m, they're going to give us 2 points. The first point is going to be 0, negative 2, and whoop, y-intercept. And we have 2, negative 4. So we know that in this case, our b is going to be negative 2. But again, just for fun, let's do a table. So when x is 0, y is negative 2. And when x is 2, y is negative 4. I'm going to highlight our y-intercept just so we remember that we have it. And I'm going to start finding our slope. Your change in y here is going to be negative 2. Your x's are going to be plus 2. So your change in y is negative 2 over change in x2, which gives us negative 1. So the final equation is going to end up being y equals negative x. Remember, we don't need the 1. Now I'm going to change that to minus 2 since it's negative. So y equals negative x minus 2. And that was all for today. Bye. Have a great day. Be your best self. Make someone smile. Bye.